I'll tell you what, I'll give you another joke. I wish it was a joke. This is real. And of course, we're going to go to the home of jokes in Australia, being Victoria, where they are advertising, the state government is advertising for a Deputy Secretary of First Peoples State Relations on pay, sit down if you're standing up, pay of between $410,018 to $533,431, almost as much as the Prime Minister, certainly more than any of the premiers in this country, to be Deputy Secretary, not even the top dog, not the Secretary.
What's the Secretary getting?
Deputy Secretary of the First Peoples State Relations Group. Now, this has been set up within the Department of Premier and Cabinet in Victoria to deal with what they call their First Peoples Assembly. Now, let me just walk you through some of the responsibilities of this job. It says in the job ad that you'll be providing and coordinating the provision of strategic policy analysis and advice to the Premier, Minister for Treaty, First Peoples, I can't be bothered reading the rest of that, working closely with key stakeholders, including the First Peoples Assembly and Yoorrook Justice Commission, supporting Victoria's work on truth and advancing self-determination and treaty, coordinating, overseeing and monitoring policy implementation, program management, major transactions and community engagement across the responsibilities of the group. You might have listened to that and gone, well, sounds like me all over. So they then helpfully describe the kind of person that they're looking for. The ideal candidate will exemplify resilient leadership qualities with proven capability to lead the group while executing responsibilities effectively. And it goes on to say, you know, if you've got an understanding of Aboriginal affairs policy, legislation and framework, it's highly desired but not actually required. So they're basically saying you don't actually have to know, it would just be nice if you did, and you can come and get $500,000 of taxpayers' money to do whatever the hell this job is. I'm sorry, I'm out of here.
It reads
I've got an interview tomorrow.
Salad. It reads like an absolute word salad. You read the ad and you're like, this could be anyone. This could be
What is it? Victoria is basically broke. They're jacking up every tax under the sun, and they can afford to spend $500,000 on a public servant who's doing what?
It's the most indebted state in the country, and this is what they're advertising for. I want to know what Victorians think of this, because in the latest budget, which came out in May, they've committed $475 million to different Indigenous First Peoples, they use the term First Peoples, projects. 82 million of that is for supporting the First Peoples Assembly. There's only 32 people on it, so if that's just carved up in salary, mate, again, I'd love a piece of that pie. But the deputy, just the deputy, is on 30k less than the Prime Minister of the nation.
We're missing the main point here. This person's being paid up to $530,000, right? And what do? They negotiate a treaty with First Nations people, which is going to cost Victorians millions and millions. So you're paying through the nose to be able to pay through the nose. But you and I will not get the job, Kayla, because it advertises, this is what they offer, not only 500 grand, but, quote, an inclusive environment where diversity is celebrated.
Oh.
That means there's no job there for white, heterosexual, middle-aged males.
Well, I'm not middle-aged, so I haven't got that problem. But I mean,
I can celebrate you and I.
I could find a few other things they could celebrate diversity. A conservative. Talk about diversity. They could have a conservative in the Victorian public service.
It does raise the question of how many people are just going to end up going, you know what? Sod it. All the builders and doers in society are being screwed over by the government every which way on a weekly basis. There's some new oh, sorry about that. Here's the dagger in your side. How many people are just going to go, all these kinds of jobs is a growing gravy train. Same with all the ESG nonsense, etc. and so on. There's so many jobs going in that field. They're like, well, you know what?
Might as well do it.
Take it back.
Might as well get on board.